Step 4, your body and you.
And you know, as we said before, you is you. You are you.
And no one else.
And no one else. And you are your body. Your body is you. And I'm of course gonna pull a quote. I'm gonna pull a quote from Introducing Evolutionary Psychology. Now this speaks, whatever you may believe about evolution or psychology, those of you Scientologists out there who are staying tuned because you heard Dianetics, this is a quote, and for those of you who are following the book, it's on page 86, and it's above the picture of a mother who has just finished breastfeeding an infant. And the quote is, "The benefit of weaning," and it's just the first sentence, And here it is. "So, a point does come when it is in the child's genetic interest to seek alternative sources of nourishment, and let a younger sibling have the mother's milk to itself." And this speaks to how we, of course, back to the putting yes inside of you, other nourishment. This is your body, because at first you wanted your mother's nourishment, or perhaps your father's if he had a bottle in his hand. I mean, he doesn't have lactating mammary glands at all, not at all. But at some point you need to go away from that nourishment, and you need to seek your own. You learn, of course, how to seek your own nourishment and to put the yes into your body. And of course, after we learn this new nourishment and we go to school, we learn things, and then, of course, we're in school with other people, and some of these other people happen to be male or female, the opposite gender. And we start to say, oh, wow, they're kind of attractive, or perhaps you find the same gender attractive, and you start to notice other people in a different way than just love or like. You start to feel sexually attracted to them, and that develops into a very interesting area of life.
Now, I'd just like to go back to the lactating mammary glands for a second.
So would I.
Yes. But not, of course, not physically. But,
no.
Yes.
I don't have a wet nurse with me.
Yes. Now, I have heard it said that the longer a child is breastfed, the better their diction.
Really?
Yes.
Never heard of that.
Really?
That's interesting. And this is another interesting thing about life. Of course, this is all about life and how to live it. When you encounter new information, or contradictory information even, find it interesting. Don't shoot it down right away. Hear more. Tell us, Paul.
It's just something I've heard.
I
was wondering if maybe you knew a bit more.
A bit more about, well, let me see. Well, if I were to break this down from what I know, or what I assume about life and how people work. Now, when you breastfeed, of course, there's a lot of muscles in your mouth.
Of course.
Being exercised. And of course, when you exercise, you of course strengthen those muscles. Like if I were to, of course, take a dumbbell and lift it up and down for a certain number of times each day, over the course of a year, I would have stronger muscles. And that, I suppose, viewing it from that lens of exercising muscles, it would perhaps, improve diction. I could see that happening, yes.
Good. That's a great answer to my question. And I'm so thankful I have that information now.
Yeah.
And I know more about my body.
And you.
And me, because of course, my body is me. Now, returning to where we were before, in terms of sexual attraction.
Yes.
Yes. How do we respond to our body, which is us,
Mm-hmm.
What is the best way, healthiest way,
The
to respond
healthiest
to
way.
our body?
Well, let me tell you. First, now this is practical. Information is the best way to respond to any sort of emotion or thing, and that's what it is. Sexual attraction really is an emotion. You must seek out other people who perhaps have been through the same thing that you have been. Like, let me give you an example. I was working at Starbucks once. Of course, we all know Starbucks, and I had a customer who was older. He was an older man. He always came through the drive-thru, and he bought a venti, Americano, 2 inches of room, an extra shot, double cupped, and no creamer or anything of that sort. And I knew this man top to bottom as far as his drink was concerned. And he came through, and I said, "Wise man, you are wise. You drive a Jeep Grand Cherokee, of course."
My favorite vehicle, actually.
Exactly. And I said to this man, because he knows his material. The person before him was rude. And I said, I'm so sorry, but this person who was before you was so rude. That's why it took so long, and I just wanted to smack him in the mouth. And that's an emotion, anger. Anger is an emotion. And he said, sometimes you just should. And this is a good example of not taking all the advice you get. Because sometimes you will get advice that seems very good and satisfying, but in fact is contrary to your overall interest.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and you just have to, and this comes back to critical thinking, which we haven't mentioned yet, so we're not really coming back to it, we're creating it now. Critical thinking, you have to develop it on your own. And that's part of respecting your body, is developing these critical thinking skills.
Finding the answers.
Finding the answers on your own.
Finding the correct response.
Exactly.
To an emotion.
Exactly. And it all boils down to who you are.
Yes.